Hi everyone. So today I spent some time doing some training with John Maxwell's new book, Take the High Road. He's saying that he doesn't see a bright future for America, which is very interesting. He says Americans don't think about each other, that they're selfish, and I'm interested in hearing more about what he thinks about America and what he has to say. But the teaching was interesting. We had three teachers on the call today, and you can find it on YouTube if you're interested. The replay is available. I just did the 90 minutes because I can't afford to pay for anything other than right now my food, my rent, and the basics, and even that my mother helps me with. So it's very difficult for me and my mom. Ever since this investigation closed on me, I was reporting harassment and the police landed up investigating me. So anyway, I kept all my notes. I took detailed notes. Every time I made a report, I recorded it. And even when I was reported missing in October of 2019, I recorded it. I wrote down the names of the police, the dates, the times, everything, because that's part of my HR training. We're trained to do that for when we do investigations internally. And it was very upsetting for me to be reported missing to the police and for them to tell me we don't know who it is. Anybody could have done it. The thing that frightens me and that disturbs me is that if I do go missing, people will think it's a joke. Because when I phoned my mother, when I phoned my aunt's sister, and I told them, they're like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, it's not nice. I'm not joking. The police were here at my place and somebody reported me missing. So I don't know why everybody thinks everything I tell them is a joke, or that I'm not being serious, or that it's nice that somebody reported me missing, because it's not. I was very, very upset and I was very frightened. I didn't even want the police to come here because they made me do that psychiatric assessment, and it was only a year later after my investigation had closed. And they said, no, we have to come because we have to make sure that you are actually there and that you are not missing. So that's why I said, okay, you can come. But it's very disturbing what people do to me in Canada. I mean, I never encountered or had any experience like this in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Even when I went to visit South Africa, when I was taking Ubers, my friends were tracking me. They knew where I was, because in South Africa, it's understandable. You have killings, you have kidnappings, you have raping. You have a lot of crime in South Africa that we don't have here on a frequent basis. So I had my friends' Uber accounts, and they let me use their Uber accounts to get to where I wanted to go. And then I paid them for whatever I used, for whatever I did. But I'm shocked to see that there's people posting on Facebook, on LinkedIn about how happy they are. People are going back to South Africa and they can't wait to be back, and they hate it in England, they hate it in Canada. But I guess it's becoming the same all over in terms of the unemployment, in terms of people not being able to make ends meet, in terms of food becoming scarce and politicized. So for example, with food banks here, if somebody like me who's earning under 50,000 a year tries to go and register with a food bank, they won't even call us back. I've tried many churches in Canada, I've tried many places, and they won't even call me back. I leave messages for them, they don't bother. So my mom sends me some money so I can get some food for myself. If they're coming to visit me, they get at the church, because her husband is Canadian. So they get people donating to their church, and then their church helps her. But for me, it's very frightening to have been in this country since 2002 and to watch everybody else getting the good breaks, the good paying jobs, jobs with pensions, jobs with benefits. And for 11 years, I tried and I couldn't get anything. And everybody blamed me in the family and extended family and said I was the problem, except for my brother. Because now what happened to me is happening all over. It's happening in England. People are getting contracts where they can let you go without any notice. And so now people can see what I went through. When I was telling people, everyone blamed me to the extent where they were saying, just go to the food bank, go on welfare for all we care. So it's a very hard experience to go through. And once I got my permanent job, it helped me a lot. I do still get tummy cramps. I do still get some anxiety, but I manage it with my essential oils. I work with my doctor. If I need to get an acid reflux prescription or something, I'll tell him. And it's stressful. I mean, for 11 years, I did nothing but sporadic contract work. My job in the call center is stressful. And I have been trying to get into administration roles, something with less stress, something that pays me better, and I can't get anything. So all I can do is keep learning and keep growing, tapping into John Maxwell, the teachings that are available, HRPA. In Canada, we actually have our HR designations because it's a symbol that we are working in the interests of the public. We didn't have those kinds of designations in Africa because we didn't need it. We were raised with the good values that you work in the interest of the public. I keep up my designation here because it's important to me. I've earned it and I don't want to lose it. But it is hard because most of the calls that they're at lunchtime. They've been between 12 to 1:30. And sometimes, most of the time, I'm working, and they usually on Wednesdays or Thursdays. So the days that I'm off, which it was the Sunday, Monday, they didn't have too many events. So it becomes a juggling act unless you're with a good company that's going to say, okay, you can take that time on those days, log off, do your training and log back on. It's a juggling act that we have to do here. And I'm not saying that it's good that everybody's suffering now, but when people like me spoke up, when we didn't want the Great Reset, when people in Australia, the reporters spoke up and said, this Great Reset is nonsense, nobody wanted to listen. Everybody said, oh, you'll be happy, you'll rent and you'll be happy. Who's happy renting? Some of us bought our homes with the intention that when we got to retirement age, that would be our nest egg. We would be able to stay there and, if necessary, sell it so we'd have something to live off. But I wasn't good enough to get the mortgage renewed. The banks refused to help me. Nobody was willing to stand up for me, to vouch for me. So I couldn't get my second mortgage. People are living in tents, not only here in Canada, but in England as well. It's becoming a very distressing situation. And the parties in South Africa, some of them want to bring back the death penalty. I mean, some of us left dictatorships because we didn't want to be forced to do things. We didn't want to be forced to get vaccinations. We didn't want to be forced to take treatments that we didn't want, including me with that psychiatric assessment. I didn't even do anything to anyone. I didn't do anything to the police, to my neighbors, in the workplace, and they forced me to get a psychiatric assessment. So I posted a comment on the police page, their Facebook page, that guy that killed that police officer, it was very tragic. I don't know what went on. They're saying he panicked, he thought he didn't realize they were police officers. There's conflicting information. But if somebody like me can be forced to get a psychiatric assessment and accused of lying to the police when I told the truth and they couldn't confirm it and be treated so harshly, then their family should also have to go and get a psychiatric assessment. and be forced to get counseling and be tracked wherever they go because somebody died. Somebody died. Whether you can say it was murder or it was a tragedy, somebody died. And somebody who protects the public died. So if they did that to me, I would also like to see the same thing being done to other people, because I objected. And the police know I objected. I said I do not want to get that psychiatric assessment. I didn't do anything wrong. Even when I called Sunnybrook and they said to me, you need to come in, we've accepted it. I said, I don't want to do it. What are you people going to do to me? Because I was frightened, because I didn't go through anything like this. And they said, no, he's just going to ask you some questions. Just come in and do the assessment. So then when Dr. Zareski asked me, are you going to be okay? I said, yes, I'll be okay, but I do not want psychiatric treatment. Because it's not like I was cutting myself or hitting people or tracking people when they were on holiday or following them or turning up at places uninvited. I never did that. Even when I went to Justin Trudeau's meetings, when I went to the town halls for Marco Mendocino, when I went to the big gatherings that they had, I was invited. And even now, Pierre Polly have invited me to come out to canvass with them. I told them I don't like doing it anymore because of what happened to me. But if there are events, if there are gatherings where I can come to a pub or I can come to something close to home and meet you, I will come. And right after the investigation closed, Doug Ford invited me. He had just been elected. I said to him, I'm not comfortable right now. I said, maybe in the future. Because it hurt me. It hurt me very, very badly what was done to me. I never expected to come to Canada, do all the right things, and because I sent too many emails and there was conflicting information in the emails, be forced to get a psychiatric assessment. Against my will, I did that. And I had written to Marco Mendocino, I had written to Justin Trudeau, Michael Levitt, because I was volunteering with them, and HRPA. And people that like Eddie, they were hurt because they like him. So if they like him, they must be his friend, not me. I'm not obliged to be anybody's friend. And it also hurt my reputation because as an executive assistant, you are expected to keep a professional relationship in the workplace. You're dealing with people's lives, you're dealing with people's families, you're dealing with their anniversaries, with their gifts for people. I was a PA. I wasn't just an executive assistant. And when I worked at Plaza Bakery as an HR officer in Zimbabwe, and I worked as an executive assistant in Zimbabwe and England, I was like a part of their families. Even when I worked with Felix at OBN Security, I was like a part of his family. His son had a problem with me because I reminded him of their last assistant. That's not my fault. Even Felix told me when I left, he said, I'm not cutting you because of what happened in the office. He said, I'm cutting you because I lost a big contract. And that's what I want. When I work as an executive assistant, I want to be like a part of the family. I want to be trusted. I want to be invited to the weddings and the funerals and for the people I work with to have that trust in me. Not to have this kind of nonsense, what's happening to me in Canada. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I told my mom, I said, this is not a joke. If I actually go missing and something happens, then you people will say, oh, we thought she was joking. It's not a joke. I don't cry wolf and I don't lie to the police. I'm an honest woman and I deserve better. And I really hope all these politicians and judges and everyone that are putting all these things into place to help the police, I hope they do the same thing they did to me with that Muslim family, because somebody died. I did not kill anyone, I did not hurt anyone, I did not cut myself, I did not do anything to myself to warrant having a psychiatric assessment done. They should do it to them. And they should teach them how to speak as well. That woman was saying we were telling our children, oh, daddy's project was successful. They should be honest with their children and tell them what happened. Because we knew, when we were growing up, we knew what was happening. We knew what was happening to my dad. We knew what was happening in the war. We knew. They should teach them how to educate their children and how to ask them to pray and things like that, because it's not fair to the rest of us. It isn't fair. And I'm sorry for what happened to that guy. I'm sorry that he killed somebody and that he feels bad about it. But at the same time, the same way that they forced me to go and have a psychiatric assessment, they should make sure that he understands his responsibilities in this country. Otherwise, it's not fair to women like me, who have done nothing and who get penalized and who lose contract after contract after contract because of some idiots going around saying they like us, they want to be our friends, and supported by the executive. It's not right. I don't like it. And I hope the police take seriously what I've suggested, because it's not fair. A policeman died. It's not fair.